welcome to this video. So, as you have gone through this video, you might have wondered how the hosting works, or you might have heard about hosting and you want to know what is hosting. So, in this video, we'll have put a clear description and a clear concept about how hosting works and how these things are done. So for that one, we will go through each and every step which we do while we're hosting something and then try to understand what happens in that step. So here you can see in Excalibur, we have got a figure where we will try to describe each and every step and I have already done that thing for you. So let us start. So first, whenever you are hosting a website, obviously you will need a website. You need to create it. So who creates that? Yes, the developer. Developer will create the website. That is, they will write down the files, they will put the images, and they will write down all those codes. And after that, those those code or those files are then uploaded into the hosting platform, as you can see in the third step. But what about the second step then? Yes. So that website file will contain HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and it will contain some images and then it will contain backend too. So what are they then? So if we try to understand them in short, then we can call that HTML as the skeletal of the website. Means whatever you are seeing over here on the screen, like the text, then those are seen through the HTML. And then you could see that those text, those icons are shown in different variants. They have got different colors, they have got different designs. So that is done with the help of CSS. And talking about the JavaScript, if I will click over this box, then you can see that something is happening on the screen. So that thing is done with the help of JavaScript. And then images. So if we look at the website, in some website, we can see the images too. We are talking about that. We are talking about static assets. Means we are talking about the image, we're talking about the videos, audios, or any other kind of files. Then same like that, we have got backend also. Now in some of the website, we will see that they will render the same content each and every time we go to the website. But in some website, they will render different content whenever we are going into the website. So that's what backend does. So backend will help to process us data and try to give us different data every time whenever we will open the website. So that is what backend does. So in short, we can tell that backend helps to write the process which will fetch data from the database and then give it to the user so that user will render the data and visualize that. And after that, when all these website files are ready, then they are uploaded to hosting platform. And hosting platform, it can be done through FTP, Git, cPanel, or SSS. The simplest which you can learn is through the cPanel. So you can buy a cPanel or also you can search for 000 web host where you will find a free cPanel and upload your files over there. While there are other different platforms from where you can do hosting. You can do hosting through platforms like Vercel, Netflix, and others, which can be done through the GitHub. So if you haven't heard about GitHub, then you can comment down and we'll create a brief video about the Git and GitHub and how we can do hosting through that. So after that, after you upload that files to the hosting platform through the cPanel, then your server. Actually, the hosting platform which we're talking here is this server, which is a computer which works 24 by 7, means 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. It will never shut down. So it usually have 99.99% uptime. means like it will never shut down. If we tell that, that will be a lie. But if we tell 99.99, then that can be a truth, because sometimes the computer can also shut down. We will hear such kind of cases a lot if you go into the such kind of field. So after you will upload that files into the hosting platform, that is the server, then the next thing is that to this file you have to connect the domain. Means your files are already on the server, but there is not a path from where you can access those files. So that's why here we need domain which help to access those files from the server. That's why the next step called as connecting the domain. So how we do that thing? So we do that thing with the help of DNS system. That is dynamic, that is domain name system, which helps to map our domain with the help of IP address to the server. So whenever we talk about server, each and every server have got an IP address, and those IP addresses can be linked to our domain. Just by example, if we have a domain, or let's say not a domain, server, if we have a server with IP address 217.0.0.1, this is just example of IP address. It can be found in other various format, and you have got domain in some other platform, like you might have domain in Cloudflare, you might have domain in other domain provider. So what you can do is that with the help of Cloudflare, you can connect the domain to the Cloudflare with name server, and then that Cloudflare will connect our domain to the IP address. So this is another step or another thing that you must be aware of while you are doing hosting. This also requires a separate video, and we cannot describe all that thing in this video. So yes, obviously your domain has to be connected with the IP address of the server, so that the server will start to render your files on that domain. So now what happens is that, so from your browser, after everything above you have done already, so from your browser, if you type www.example.com, and what is this? Yes, this is a domain. If you type this domain, then that will send the HTTP request to the server, and your server can contain Apache, Nginx, or any other kind of server management tool. So that server will help to render the files which are over there and which are connected to that domain. So that file may be static or that may be dynamic. If it is static, then that's fine. It will keep that file to us so that browser will render. But what if it is dynamic then? Yes, so if it is dynamic, then it will go to the database and try to fetch the data. We have a database like MySQL, then PostgreSQL, and other different kind of database like MongoDB and other things. So it will fetch the data from database, and after all that thing is done, after all the process happens in the server, then it will generate a response for the user, for the front end or for the browser. So that response is sent to the browser again with the help of HTTP response. And then after the browser receives that HTTP response, then browser will render the data. And after browser will render the data, so you just sees the website. Now, as you can see there, we are talking about browser rendering. So what browser rendering is that when we talk about HTTP response, the server does not actually send the whole website design to us. It will send the code. It will send the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript code to the front end, and the browser will convert that into beautiful designs and deliver it to us. That is, we can see that visually after browser renders that file. And then user does not see that code. User will just see the design, just see that text which is inside that code. And while browser will render that website, another thing that browser does is that it will also check the SSL, means whether the website is secure or not. It will check the SSL certificate, whether it is valid or not, whether it has expired or not, whether it has been sent from trusted certification authority or not. That everything will be checked, and then browser will help to render that website. If it is not from the trusted authority, then browser will give us a warning that it is not secure. So after the browser has done all this thing and rendered the website, then browser will cache that website into the storage. Caching means storing the data into the memory, that is in your RAM, so that next time whenever you are opening the website will render faster. So you might have noticed whenever you are opening a website for the first time, the website takes a lot of loading time, but the next time when you are opening that same website, it will load faster. So that happens because your website files are stored in RAM, and that process is called as caching, and it is usually done using cache. So these are all the things that must be done or that must be known while we are hosting something. And if you need another video with how to host a website in cPanel, then you can comment down below. We will check that thing also.